The early hazing sequence in Julia Ducournau's Raw is very thematically telling. Students are herded half-naked on their hands and knees through a dim industrial funnel of a backdrop, quite like livestock. The end result isn't slaughter, but another situation where our value and agency comes primarily from our bodies. Imagery of animals being sedated, restrained, and manipulated against their will is pervasive in the film, and humans are often likened to them in very uncomfortable ways.
Vous avez un cochon là, dans votre camion?
Ouais. On a tout ça. C'est pour échanger notre sang d'alcoolo. Les cochons, c'est presque comme les hommes. Je sais pas si vous avez appris ça.
The ecstasy and emptiness of youth culture thinly veils the human being assembly line that is university. Justine tries to suppress her primal instincts and desires against this backdrop of logic and learning. She's in her freshman year of veterinary school. Raised vegetarian, she develops an obsession for meat and eventually human flesh after she's forced to eat a rabbit kidney during the hazing process. Our relationship with food, in a very personal, subjective way, is uniquely explored in a body horror context.
T'as croqué dedans?
Non.
T'es sûre?
Bah non, tu vas bien.
Putain, c'est du foutage de gueule, ça m'énerve.
Non, c'est bon, maman, c'est pas la peine d'en faire un
Tu
bras.
rigoles ou quoi? T'imagines que t'es allergique?
The film is a little too effective at zeroing in on bodies responding to physical and psychological stress. The tics we have, what our skin sounds like when we scratch it. The sound design is hair-raising and the photography is very intimate. Most of the time. Justine is often isolated in both close and long shots, highlighting her individuality and how alone she feels with her compulsions. The evocative early fall setting, meanwhile, is perfect for a narrative about self-discovery and change. Garance Marillier deserves particular praise. At 18 years old, she carries this movie with an implosive, empathetic, and natural performance, guiding us through Justine's transformation with measured, discernible changes in physicality and attitude. As bizarre as it may sound, you can see why Ducournau doesn't consider Raw a straight horror film. It's as much a knowing story about a young woman coming of age and navigating academia at its worst. One of the scariest scenes escalates from a Brazilian wax gone wrong, which is, well, a real-world thing that happens, I'm told. As is cannibalism. There's nothing supernatural at play here, which is part of why I admire it. The frustrating desire to conform is also explored, how it keeps us docile and silent even when we're being coerced or mistreated, which can happen when you're a young woman in an environment full of power-tripping and insatiably horny dudes. Justine's cannibalism is a clever genre way to turn the tables on these familiar campus power imbalances and on the horror genre itself. We've seen men stalk, seduce, and prey on women in horror films for decades, whether they're vampires, werewolves, or masked slashers. In Raw, the men who think they're getting lucky get a lot more than they bargained for. All of this allows Justine's more aberrant desires to be somewhat sympathetic, even when the movie is dialed to 11. I am quite jaded. It takes some midpoint Miike for me to even flinch, and I was seriously squirmy on all 3 of my viewings. You will watch part of this movie through your hands.
Guaranteed!
It's caused walkouts and fainting and vomiting at its premieres all over the world, and I'd guess that's as much because of the suggestive context of what you're seeing as it is what's happening on screen. It's visceral, but in a way that encourages you to reflect. In what ways must we compromise and suppress our urges and desires to be functional in society? We see the cost of that sacrifice in a shocker ending that I couldn't get out of my head for days. See this, then see Titan. Even if you don't enjoy them per se, I promise you'll remember them.